right, welcome to my new AR builder series. Now, it looks like a tornado hit an AR, but give me 1 second to explain. So, in this video, I literally just grabbed every spare part I could find. There might even be some lingering somewhere, but I grabbed every spare part I could find because now that I've gotten my life situation stabilized and I have no ARs, I'm getting started again. Now, this lower right here, I know a lot of people are gonna scream, and I don't care. It works perfectly adequately, used enough of them, no problems. So, say whatever you want. Of course, I'm covering my serial number here, but this piece of tape, reason I put this here was just for demonstration purposes. So I'm just gonna do a brief explanation, but as we go along, I will actually piece together this rifle and record and talk about it. We're also gonna talk about previous builds I did, gas systems, all the specs, and what experience I had with those. So to start off, I put this tape here just to show you that when you are putting in your bolt lock / release here, right in there, which of course is going to have, give me 1 second. I can identify, but I don't want to lose anything. This little plunger here, and this little spring here. So I lost my tripod while I was moving around. I ordered a new one. I don't currently have one. So this spring is gonna fit onto the thin end of that, which is of course going to go into that, not this hole, but that hole right there, which of course then your bolt release is going to go over. That gives it that hinging, springing back action. But when you're putting this pin in right here, to make your life a million times easier, you're gonna wanna get one of these. I don't care how Chinese it is, you should only be starting a pin like one time. And I mean, unless you're building insane amounts of ARs, it's probably gonna last you good enough. So this tool is designed with a slight offset, and it's made specifically for this purpose. So you've got the starter right here, so you'll fit that in there. Of course, you will be doing all of this on a workbench. That is ideal. I'm not gonna say to other methods I've used, use a workbench, use the proper tools. I have been using the Magpul Bev block because it is simple and effective for me. Of course, we've got this side up here. You can fit your upper on. When you flip it over, you can put your lower, put it into the mag well, and once you have your mag release installed, it'll lock it in place and hold it up, which of course would be in a vise on your workbench while you do work. And while of course that's happening, you'll have your specialized punch here, which will then fit over here. I didn't do the full length, this is just for demonstration, but cover all this area here and maybe even double up if you'd like, and then you've got access to starting the punch just like this because it gives you clearance. Perfect. Get this, please. Don't just be humble, get it. I did it too many times and it literally saved me. Like it cut my time by 90%. So Magpul Bev block works for me, not too expensive. Choose whatever you want as long as it works and is not cheap. So also non-marring is preferable. You've got your lower. I have, after several builds, decided Magpul MOEs are good enough for me in black. If it's gonna change color, it's when I spray paint the rifle. I'm not too caught up on those details. So with this current build, I am just getting whatever pieces I can viable out of all of this here. And then I'm going to take stock of what else is required and I'm going to order it online. So the plan for this build, after much thought, I liked the A5 system, but a small part of me is wondering if I might have just been having a placebo. And sometimes it's just annoying dropping over $100 on your buffer system over and over again. And then if you get the wrong buffer weight, and then you gotta by those weights because they're proprietary, and it's just a whole thing. And I've just come to the conclusion where I just want to properly gas my gun and use a carbine or rifle system. So from now on, if I'm using a carbine system, I'm going to start off with that. And then I will later down the line, if I feel it needs it, I will upgrade to an A5. Say if I'm deciding to run it suppressed and unsuppressed, or low power and high power ammunition, and it starts to run into issues. But honestly, I don't know. We'll see. But right now, I'm just sticking a carbine and rifle again. I will talk about other builds I've done with the A5, which ran great, but I can't actually confidently say they ran really that much better. So this build is going to, since I already had a carbine buffer here, and I think, well, I gotta weigh it, but I know it's not an exact perfect carbine buffer. This was from a build like 2 years ago, and I know the weights were changed around, so I have to weigh this and then figure out if I'm gonna buy an H or an H2, or if this isn't a carbine, then I guess a carbine buffer so I can play around with it. But the plan for this is I'm going to have a standard carbine or an H buffer. I'm probably going to have a Springco, either white or red white, not sure yet. I really don't want to put too much extra tension. I just want it to be a Springco spring. Just, you know, carbine buffer tube, just simple. So that's what the back half of this gun's gonna be. I'm gonna run the Magpul CTR stock, which I do not have here. I'll probably put a picture over this. So I'm just gonna run carbine buffer system, Springco spring, CTR stock. Then we're gonna go up here. We've got MOE, just basic, not even plus. I don't like the rubberized. It catches on everything. Standard safety. Somebody I had traded a long time ago, I ended up getting this. I think it's a POF. I don't like it. I'm just not a fan. It's not my thing. So I'm probably just gonna get a standard one or get a different ambi like the Radian. So we've got trigger. The thing I've been thinking about right now, Dirty Bird Industries 2-stage trigger goes on sale frequently for like, I think it's like between $60 and $80 on AR15discounts.com. Of course, that's pretty much the only place you can get it, I think. But I've seen good reviews on it, so I want to try that out. I'm not going to do a standard mil spec. I tend to. One of my builds previous, which we'll talk about, did have a Wilson Combat TTU 3.5 pound 2-stage trigger in it. I'll have to find that and then I can put it on the screen. That one was good. I liked it. I only got it because at the time I was working at a gun store and distributor had it for a good price. But I probably wouldn't buy it again because I'm not that serious. I want combat effective guns. Later, if I decide to get really, really into target shooting, I might tune my triggers like that, but I've just not had any issues with mil-spec. So that one is a cheap enough 2-stage trigger that I'd like to try it out. I have, just for consideration, the reason I brought all these parts out is to say, because obviously not everyone has the same tastes as me, but I at one point bought this because I, again, was working at a gun store and it was dummy cheap. But I'm probably not going to use it on any of my builds. However, it is an interesting concept. If you do use a railed gas block for having a foldable front sight on, just remember, this is going to get hot and your sight is going to get hot. If it's spring assisted, that might not cause an issue. But again, I don't know actually how much that heat's going to start affecting the springs. So just keep that in mind. Any backup foldable sight on top of a railed gas block is going to get hot as you're shooting. So I don't know. I had ideas and now it's here. Probably just going to sell it or donate it to someone. I brought these out so that I could talk to you about that, because on this build, we are going to have a 13.9 or a 14.5 upper. I'm just going to see whatever one I can get cheaper during the holidays. It's going to be 13.9 or 14.5 pin and weld. So carbine buffer or H buffer, we're going to have a 13.9 or 14.5 mid-length pin and weld. And I'm going to be probably trying to get a thinner profile. So I'm looking to get hopefully a 0.625 gas block journal, because I do have this BCM gas block, which is a 0.625. And if I don't end up going that route, I mean, it's no big deal. I'll just buy another 0.75 and then just, you know, sell this one. So gas block considerations. First one I showed you was a 0.750. That is standard. 3/4 of an inch standard. 0.625. This is what you'll see on pencil barrels mostly, or Fax and Gunner profile, or just any other proprietary profiles that are thinner in the front. So that consideration, that's what I decided to go with. I'm also going to run a free float handguard. Still debating on the handguard at the moment, length and company, because I really want to make sure it's a sturdy one. I don't want to cheap out on everything. So let me make sure I don't lose these. That's another thing. Get yourself a little like magnetic bowl. I have one in the other room and I didn't even think about it, and I'm not getting it, so screw you. This came, I believe, with an Aero Precision handguard or something I had, or a stock, or like the Mag. I think this came with the Magpul UBR stock. I might be wrong, but there are other things like this you can just buy, and it's nice because you can attach it to a torque wrench and get your proper specs. Use the proper tools. I'm not going to speak on what I do. Use the proper tools, get a good setup, don't hurt yourself, don't screw up your investment, because it is easy to mar up steel and aluminum matings. Easy. This was here because this also came with the Magpul UBR stock, which I do not have anymore. However, if you happen to have that stock, make sure you don't lose this thing. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it makes it a million times easier to install the stock if you happen to decide to take it off and put it on something else or whatever the heck. Because, you know, some of us are fidgety and we can't stick with one thing. But I brought this out because if you are not a fan of free floats or you're trying something different, this is the Magpul M-LOK to MOE adapters. Get this if you're using an MOE handguard on a fixed front sight base build. Trust me, because this will help you to attach all of your M-LOK components, which I'm trying to see if I have any. Here's an M-LOK component. So say you wanted to attach this beautiful Slate Black Industries hand stop, right? Well, this M-LOK T-nut or cam nut is not going to work on your two-piece MOE or MOESL handguards at all. What you're gonna wanna do is get that cam nut off and replace it with what comes in this kit, which are these little things right here. Now they are a little weird to mess around with, but they're made like this because the holes are much bigger. It's not M-LOK, it's Legacy MOE. These are only necessary if you need longer length. These, I would use this. It just adds a little extra cushion. You know, the more polymer I can get between the two pieces of metal that are sandwiching, the sturdier. At least that's just what my logic goes with. So, happen to have this Hogue set over here just because I want people to remember there are options, but this is not what I'm using on my build. Took that off of an old build that I had made for my mom, and now I'm just, I'm selling it. So there are some A2 grips just to show you how it gets. Sometimes when you start just going down this rabbit hole, you'll end up with way too many of one thing for no reason. I've got two different trigger guards. One's flat, one's curved. I've got two castle nuts. I thought I didn't have a castle nut, and then I ended up purchasing another castle nut. And then all of a sudden I was like, cool, I have two castle nuts. One of my friends, I was helping him move, and then he goes, oh, hey bro, I found this end plate from when you built me that other AR. We swapped this. I'm just like, okay, cool, you're not gonna use it. All these hammer springs, I hold on to those. Hammer and trigger springs are not useless to hold on to in spare. Keep that in mind. Oh, and then of course, you know, just other lower parts. I just have a bunch of lower parts. When I'm getting to the building part of this, I will take stock of what I need, what else I require to complete my build. But With this particular build, I am planning on doing, like I said, carbine buffer system, spring coast spring, CTR stock, which is not going to affect the function, but that's just me saying that. So carbine or H buffer, 13.9 or 14.5, depending on literally Black Friday sales. Mid-length gas system. Yes, I'm going to run the mid-length. So I'm running a mid-length and I want to make sure it's properly gassed. Hopefully, so I'm gonna make sure I pay attention to all the specs on the barrels and the reviews. Depending on the profile, which I'm going for a thinner profile, most likely going to use my BCM 0.625 gas block, which means I will need to purchase a mid-length gas tube, which the gas tube is what's going to come with your pin 99.9% of the time. Don't lose that pin. Like it's really, it hurts. It really hurts, like trying to find certain types of replacements for these firearms. Don't lose your pins. And if you're not autistic enough to remember what every single thing looks like to the minutia of a millimeter, put them in bags and label them. Because if you mix pins up and you're sitting there getting frustrated and then you think it's the one because it kind of looks like it fits, and then you jam a pin in to a hole it's not supposed to go into and it's too big, you're going to ruin your receiver. And then, well, better luck next time, I guess. I also wanted to bring these out because these are barrel nut shims. Now, if my memory serves correctly, these came with the Aero Precision Quantum handguard, which has their BAR barrel nut, which is this ginormous thing that you have to time properly. So it came with these shims. I only ended up using one of them, so I ended up having the extras. But depending on that, keep that in mind. Certain handguards, you want to make sure you understand how the manufacturer wants it mounted, what's required for it mounting, whether it's required to be timed or not. And then I happen to have these. I really do not remember how I got these, but these are barrel shims. So these are for a muzzle device. So it's a barrel shim set. These are for certain muzzle devices. Normally I used a crush washer. However, I think this time around I might try the barrel shims, but I'm going to do some more research, and of course y'all will know as we go along. But I have them here, and I'm interested to see how that goes. Other than that, I would almost always suggest getting an openly flared or a lower that already has an integrated trigger guard, which normally I would get, but honestly right now I'm just not that picky anymore. I've built so many different ones. Get yourself a nice punch set. I like this one a lot, the AccuPunch set. I guess I really don't have any complaints about it. It's just very specifically for AR-15, so like if you want to get a punch set for other guns, I guess just get yourself a separate punch set. This one, I like it because, it has every single punch that the AR-15 needs. Plus, these tweezers don't really come in handy much if you use starter punch set. So basically, I got this, and then cheap Amazon starter punch set, and cheap starter Amazon punch set by itself is like 1 out of 10. And then this is like 6 out of 10. And then them together is like, oh my God, 11 out of 10. I'm getting my job done. Like, holy crap. I just pull that one out, tap, tap. Oh, it's in, take it off, take that one, pop, pop, pop. Okay, cool, it's done. Instead of sitting here juggling my hands around, trying to get the right angle, and my fingers are all twisted up, and I got the hammer like this. Like, I know you do it. I know one of you just felt that. Stop doing that to yourself. Trust me, just stop doing it to yourself. It's gonna make your life a lot easier. The only downside is you might be motivated to start building more ARs, and then, well, I guess you'll just have to build yourself so you can afford them. Oh, last note, front sight based people. Oh no, there I go, marring my lower, whatever. Okay, so there is a sling swivel. If you're gonna use that sling swivel, make sure your kit comes with the sling swivel, because sometimes people will just buy a front sight base, such as, boom. I only bought this because I needed the spring and the detent for the front sight post, and I went to a gunsmith and he just had this, and I was like, I'm not using this, but how much is it? Just sell it to me. I just need that pin. That is why, the same thing, let's just bring this back. Don't lose your pins, especially gas block. It just seems harmless. It seems harmless. Trust me. And it seems like, oh, I could buy an oops kit. No, oops kits work on the lower, upper parts, like pins, springs, anything in the upper is like, for some reason, just way, way, way harder to source individually or even in a small repair kit. Like, is this like, oh no, gotta buy a whole new gas tube just to get that pin, I guess, because nobody sells just the gas tube pin. Or like a set of them even, I don't know, maybe they do. I just haven't found it or needed it. But I think I've went on long enough. This was about as much as I could give you just as a preliminary. So just keep in mind, what you're gonna wanna start off with is, well, this is the only part that requires paperwork. If you want to start your AR build and you want to be motivated to do it, buy yourself an Anderson or an Aero Precision lower by itself, pay that money, do your paperwork, and then just let it sit, stack your money, buy it piece by piece over time. Just like, $20 grip. Okay, cool, I got my grip. A lower parts kit for like 50, 60 bucks. Okay, cool, I got that. Just piece it out over time. Don't get anxious. You can get all of this done if you're patient and you do your research. You can get yourself a well-running, functional gun for $800 or less. And if you're savvy enough with tools, and again, you're patient in the process, I guarantee you it's going to be of similar quality to a lot of your $1,200, maybe $1,300 rifles. We're going to put FNs exempted from that because of chrome lining in their barrels, unless you buy a chrome lined barrel, which you can on sale a lot. So again, you get to control your quality and what you need in your purposes. That's why I build my ARs, and I can't stand buying them, because then I always want to change out all the parts anyway, and it just doesn't make any sense. So that's about all I have for y'all today, and this is probably gonna take a while to upload, but I really appreciate everyone's patience, and God bless you all.